It's a great honor and privilege for me to visit your university and make presentation here. I am a VP research at my third year at my university, but I was also almost 20 years as a library director at the same university, so from 1995. So it's my great pleasure for me to meet colleagues and to have such a beautiful presentation. Just few words about my university. It's the oldest university in Ukraine, founded from 1615, and one of the youngest university in Ukraine at the same time for its closing date from 1815 till 1991, then Ukraine took independence. Now it's a modern university with 6 schools, with new innovative. We are a small university. It's about 3,500 students. We have both on undergraduate, graduate, and PhD level, as well as we have 31 research department. And you see on the slides a brief information about my university and its mission, our mission, and our vision, and some information about innovation in Ukraine. It's absolutely usual for you, but it's absolutely innovation for Ukraine since Ukraine take independence to have undergraduate and graduate level, and we created the first PhD school in Ukraine 8 years ago, and some different innovations for trimester, for university-based diploma, for many and other things you see at the slide. We were first in Ukraine to establish research center in collaboration with Western universities in social work, ecology, public health, business school, and you see we are so famous all around the world. We are proud to be on our historical territory from 1615, and of course we have some culture heritage, and we have 11 architectural historical landmarks on the university campus from 17th century, and we proud to be on this. The university situated is just in the center of the city. The Kiev is the capital of Ukraine, and just in the historical center of the city situated our university. Of course, we realize that the library is the head of the university, so my library started in 1991 from 0 books, from first shelf, from first librarians, and it's a good case to research how can library growing for 25 years till 1,500,000 volumes, mostly about 40% it's electronic databases, e-books, e-journals, and so on, so on. We run 9 libraries around the campus, and I realize my library is the best in Ukraine. Some words about my country, but first of all, I just want to ask you, what do you know about Ukraine and about people? Any suggestion? Any suggestion? So, Klitschko, boxer, Klitschko, Chernobyl, ecology problem, yeah. Located in Eastern Europe, bodied by Russia. Vareniki, Dynamo Kyiv football club is also very famous, but I just wanted to say you anybody. Of course, everyone knows about this song. You recognize it, yeah? Yeah. Who knows the composer? It's an old folk Ukrainian song from 10th century called Щедрівка, Щедрівочка. It's Lastiochka, and the famous Ukrainian composer Mykola Leontovich in last century was the composer it, and among Americans it's known as Choral of Bells, but it's real Shedrak with another words, of course. Some slides about Ukraine and Ukrainians. We have a beautiful country with famous as a global breadbasket because of its extensive farmlands and is one of the world's largest grain exporter. The economy of Ukraine includes a large heavy industry sector, but particularly in aerospace and industrial equipment. Friendly people, great meals, beautiful landscapes, many from mountains on the west to two seas on the south of our country. Ukraine is the second largest country in Europe according to this territory, and with 46 million population. And our history dates back to at least 4,500 years before from the Tripolian culture. Ukraine was the center of the first Eastern Slavic state, Kievan Rus, which during the 10th and 11th century was the largest and most powerful state in Europe. In Ukraine state, the Cossack Hetmanate was established here in the middle of 17th century. But many tragic sad page of Ukrainian being under the reign of Russian Empire from the 18th century through the more than 70 years of being in Soviet Union, through the great famine, Holodomor in the middle of 20th century. Cause of this genocide, almost 7 million people have died. Through the actual shooting of Ukrainian intellectuals, writers, scientists, state activists of the Stalin era, Russia, fearing separatism, imposed strict limit of attempt to elevate the Ukrainian language and culture, even banning its use and study. You can understand, of course, how this affected the whole history of the country, which actually for more than 4th century had no independence. You understand how Soviet ideological machine and evil empire we call the Soviet Union tried to destroy everything Ukrainian, and firstly Ukrainian intelligentsia and anyone who was against communism. Unfortunately, it influenced everything that concerned Ukraine, including the development of science, education, culture, libraries, everywhere. But the Ukraine was rebellious and officially declared itself an independent state on August 24, 1991, then Soviet Union dissolution. It's not easy for Russian Empire to realize this losing control by post-Soviet countries, Baltic countries, Moldova, Georgia, but mostly Ukraine. Ukraine has sphere of interest by Russia till now. In 2014, Russia made several military incursions into Ukrainian territory. After Euromaidan, Russian soldiers without insight took control of strategic position and infrastructure of Ukrainian territory of Crimea. Russia then annexed Crimea, and the same month Russia was preparing for a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and Russian military starts their intervention to eastern part of Ukraine. It's a real war, it's a hybrid war, and Russia has begun against Ukraine a war with participation of the Ukrainian security service and army. It's a real war. We lose about 10,000 people and about 2 million persons were displaced all around the country. So, but we hope for victory and we hope for best. So we have 25 years for Ukrainian independence, and we hope for our democracy and economical reforms, privatization reforms, civil liberties efforts. I believe Ukraine has potential to become energy independent and capacity to lead on key regional and global issues. The next few slides about condition of science and higher education in Ukraine and why open access and digital scholarship is so important for us. Ukraine is an important producer of scientific data. Let me remind you following Ukrainian outstanding scholars, just few names about Igor Sikorsky, the pioneer of aviation in both helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft. He developed the first of Pan American Airways ocean flying boat, by the way. Ivan Poluy, before and again, was a physicist who championed in early developer of extra rays for medical imaging. Boris Grabovsky, engineer the first fully electronic TV. Sergei Korolev, father of practical astronautics, the pioneer of airspace engineering and the lead Soviet rocket engineer. So Sergei Lebedev, the designer of the first computer in Europe. Timoshenko, Amosov, Kondratyuk, by the way, you know maybe the name Kondratyuk, Ukrainian pioneer of astronautics. Also, he was a theoretician and a visionary who in early 20th century foresaw ways of reaching the moon. The author of the so-called Kondratyuk Road, which is traveled by the space shuttle Apollo on the way to the moon. Ukrainian aircraft Antonov is the largest aircraft ever built in the war. The list may be continued. Ukraine is is on the fourth place for the IT specialist in the world now after the United States, China and India. Significant scientific outputs are made in the fields of mathematics, cybernetics, nanotechnology, medicine, engineering and everywhere. But comparing with global trends, Ukrainian scientific development doesn't correspond to potential and opportunities. One of the backlog reasons is that science had only started coming back to the universities. During a long term of time, researchers were not performed at universities. This was Soviet tradition established in order to make from universities professional schools only while science was developed in special institutes. It was artifactual separation and wasn't useful neither for institutes, never for university. But even now, science in Ukraine is separated between National Academy of Science. You see 190 research institutes and universities. We have about 800 higher educational institutions and 351 universities. And the general quantity of employed in science is almost 200 people, Doctor of Science and another. We have about 1,500 titles of academic journals are published in Ukraine. And by the way, all academic journals published by university or scientific community. No journals from commercial publishing house. It's good news for open access, isn't it? Ukrainian research capacities are rapidly improving. Some significant problems remain. The circulation of this printed journal rarely exceeds 200 copies, and mechanisms of their distribution are incomprehensible and illogical. 90% of this publication is only in Ukraine. Of course, they have abstracts in English, but it's not enough. Only 20 academic journals of Ukraine have impact factor and referred in Thomson Reuters Web of Science, and about 60 in Scopus by Elsevier. So, democratic some information, another information about higher education in Ukraine. You see the high literacy rate is almost 100%. We have some change. Ukraine produces the fourth largest number of post-secondary graduates in Europe. Higher education mostly provided by state university, or only few private university. We have 2 degrees. We have undergraduate and master degree. 6 years it's need to be a student. The establishment of law of Ukrainian higher education 3 years ago almost. It's a big change for higher education philosophy and structure in Ukraine, and you see on this slide about this change. So, of course, I'd like to tell you a few words about libraries in Ukraine. All democratic change in Ukraine for the last 2 decades closely linked to the library, which have been rethinking their role in society, considering different goals and facing new challenges. The brief history of libraries in Ukraine starts from the library of the Yaroslav the Wise, the first state library of Kiev Rus, from 11th century, through monastery libraries, through libraries of brotherhoods, through to the oldest university libraries in Ukraine. Of course, Ukraine became a part of the Soviet Union in 1922. Under the Soviet regime till 1991, the libraries had a strict centralized administration, ensuring strong censorship and dictating communist ideology. Through the Soviet period, librarians were responsible for maintaining up-to-date list of forbidden books and removing them from public view. One more tragic page of Ukrainian history, Second World War. German troops occupied Ukraine territory from 1941 till 1945. This war brought great losses to the libraries. Before the beginning of war, there were 44,000 libraries with total book collection is amount 100 million items. More than 40,000 libraries were ruined or damaged, and about 80 million of books were destroyed or stolen. Nevertheless, the library network in Ukraine was basically restored by the middle of last century, and now our modern library network consists of 25,000 libraries, including 100 public libraries, university library, of course, medical libraries, and other. It's a great number of school libraries all around the country. The library community currently working toward new library policies in Ukraine based on free access to ideas, library materials and services. Intellectual freedom issue are the basis on contemporary library and information policies in Ukraine. So, few slides about the biggest libraries in Ukraine. The biggest one is in Vernadsky National Library, one of the 10 biggest in the world. The total collection is about 15 million, including huge collection of rare books, some of them during the 10th or 11th century. It's manuscripts and rare books. Lviv Stefanik Library is the second biggest library in Ukraine. And you see there are some manuscripts and treasures. And the first constitution of Ukraine, by the way, the first constitution of the world from 18th century, Peloponnesian constitution. So the Lviv, the western part of Ukraine, very beautiful city. It's also the biggest, one of the biggest library, and they have good tradition to good new project to digitize the rare books, to create electronic library. Every library in Ukraine try to create electronic library. Of course, it's traditional but you see, they have a special project in cooperation not only with Ukrainian libraries but with some library of Poland, and they digitize more than 2 million volumes just now. So, of course, Ukrainian libraries joined to this great project since 7 years ago, and my library also. So we are the Ukrainian books and other items now involve digital library and absolutely open access. We have also 5 subject national libraries: medical, children, Ukrainian book chamber, parliamentary library. And you see the impact of Ukrainian science still low at the global north and the global world. One of the major barriers for Ukrainian scholars is the lack of access to the current scientific information, much of which may be published in journals that have high annual subscription rates and so are far too expensive for many libraries. An average Ukrainian university has access to less than 20 titles, 20, 30 titles of foreign journals only. That's why open access it's a big movement, and the model of open access, both institutional repository and open journals, seems the best concerning organization of Ukrainian scientific information resources in publication of research result. Of course, you know about open access movement, and we are happy to, and you know the poem about how to say the roses are red, the violets are blue. To continue this poem, you need to pay 39, 32. Yeah. So open access is a big movement all around the scholar communication at whole and the publication. So Ukraine has some achievement in lobbying open access in state level, and we have about 100 repositories and our journals, all academic journals in open access. Also, we have open access policies or mandates supported by the government, not only by universities, of course we have, but the Parliament of Ukraine, Верховна Rada, has a special mandate. We have some statement from university libraries, from universities, rectors, so on, so on. So we lobby a lot of open access movement because it's a good way. So that's why we have now the National Repository of Scientific Periodicals. I told you almost all Ukrainian journals are in open access now. Now we have another big project about National Repository for dissertation. So for this kind of publication. Of course, Ukrainian journals starting to publish not only in Ukrainian but in English mostly, and to be involved and referred by international databases. Of course, at my university, the library itself responsible for publishing our university scientific output through the journals. That's why we use open journal system and published about 5 of our journals from 30 journals of our university we published on open journal system platform, and you see some of them. And of course, the library is responsible for institutional repository, creating, managing, and developing and preserving our data. So that's why it's very good. Another big project for Ukraine was supported by UCID till 7 years ago, and it's consortium of universities who arrange the electronic resource management firstly, and created institutional repositories. So this project is still live, and my university is the main coordinator for this. We provide access to the world scientific resources, and you see, and we organize free trial, and we provide a huge workshops, trainings for all around the country to teach not only librarians but of course faculties how to publish in open access, how to have a reputation, what is researcher ID, what is open access, what is repository, how to be with deals with intellectual property. So this all issues about it. We have a special portal for our project, so we use some link resolver to searching the journals we subscribed in, and some. Another big project for Ukraine is $25 million Bill and Melinda Gates program since 2009. It's a special grant, but only for public libraries. The public libraries is a great place for communities, for society, and of course this grant deals with access to information in public libraries all around the country. Mostly it's a village, small village or small communities. And for beginning of this project, only 2% of Ukrainian public, it's 2000, only 2% were connected to internet. So it's very poor. So this project is good for everyone, and yeah. 2009, only 2% of public library. Of course, each university libraries and each academic libraries has, and the big city libraries has access to internet. But mostly Ukraine is a agriculture country, so we have many small village, about 100 population to live in, and they have maybe one libraries for 5 or 7 villages. So that's why it's really the bad program. And another project supported by United States citizens for your paying tax. It's a library electronic access project supported by US government, and it's also the same goal, to provide internet connection and to teach librarians how to deal with modern technology and so on. That's why we have created lab centers in Ukraine. It's in a great support, not for young generation. Of course, everyone has a phone with connect to internet, but the old generation, the oldest person who deals with computer maybe first time in their life, so they have no computers at home, so they come to the libraries and can use this technology. And the library provide many workshops about even what is Facebook, how deals with Skype, how to be. Of course, we have also all modern trends, maker spaces and the library, so 3D printing and so on, visualization and so on. But for communities, it's very good, social good from libraries to be helpful for all communities, not only for. It's my small presentation, and I'm thankful for your attention, and maybe you have a question. And my email is here, and I will be here till March 3rd. So my real goal to visit FSU, it's not libraries. Unfortunately, I am IREX internship fellow, and I research as research management at the university. So all issues about research management and governance and some policies and academical ethics and sponsored research and so on. But so I'm happy to be here because I feel like I'm among the colleagues, and thanks Marsha for inviting me. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Okay.
One of the things that I had in mind, and I'm so glad you talked about it, was the role of open access in supporting scholars. Was there any resistance to the open access movement on behalf of scholars who may have wanted to get into what were perceived as higher prestige journals or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's an international problem, I suppose, because the scholars are very traditional and conservative. So that's why we have another big issue and another big context. We have no academical culture to be published. It's not necessary to be published internationally. So it's only regulated to publish some publication in the national journals. That's why we have no culture, and we have no our scholars have no academic skills to academic writing. So even to write the article for high impact factor journal. So that's why we need many trainings just now, and it's now regulation. So it's necessary to have at least 5 articles in high impact level journals to be a doctor of science, and 3 articles to be a PhD. So it's no regulation now. It's a huge discussion, especially among the oldest generation of scholars. So it's necessary to know English. It's necessary to know many things to academic writing. And of course, we have many leaders in open access movement among the universities, among the academia, but mostly it's not the first time task. It's not the 10 task time to publish, to self-archiving they published into institutional repository. So it's not even 100 tasks. So why I need to be recognized? It's sometimes. So that's why we have some help desk all around the countries at the libraries. The self-archiving librarians can archive publication if scholars approve it. So we check it under Sherpa Romeo about copyrights. We check if some publication house has another restriction to self-archiving, so green or yellow. So that's why, and we do it for our scholars sometimes. So that's why. But about 100 items already, Ukrainian articles already in open access, so 100,000 articles already. So it's a it's a huge. We started only 5 or 7 years ago, so it's short term to be success.
It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's only one way to be recognized, not on national level, but on international. The world is so global and world is so flat. The scholars need to be in cooperation with all the world, not only in the country, in the close country, in the close culture. You see, the same, absolutely. But you have the long tradition to publish or perish, yeah. But we have not. So that's why it's only our first steps to be recognized. So
yeah, because we have to break down those traditions to rebuild them.
Yeah,
it just seems like a fresh start would be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions for Tetiana?
Yeah, just a question. When you mentioned about the adoption or the population of the internet use, in Ukraine, is not really high by the question that was only 2% in 2009. So right now, like after 15 years later, what is the adoption rate for the internet access across the village in Ukraine?
We have a good moment for internet. So of course the technology is very fast, and everyone has mobile phones and connecting to internet. Just now, we have good internet connections without any restriction. And of course, the young generation, it's 100% on the internet. So they born with internet touching on fingers. But the oldest generation, it's still a problem.
Right.
Still a problem.
Do you find that as households and places they have more internet access, they come to the library less and less, or it is about the same as the library is the center of the social activities?
Our population goes to library less and less, but that's why the library provides a distance service, not only in the library buildings, but also we provide access to databases, we provide access to e-books, we provide access to many things to do. We have Ask Librarians reference services. It's in you for Ukraine. So it's not necessary to come into the library building just now to be involved in library service and resources. So that's why many of course, as you students, many of students use library but don't come into the library building. But the university libraries are happy because the library itself is not only place for reading and to studying, but place for many activities and co-working place to working together. And so that's why the university libraries are still popular.
Oh, very interesting. So I have one final question about the online distance learning program. I know that this was not part of the presentation, but you did mention just a little bit about this. So from your perspective, how is the distance learning in Ukraine? Is it like in university? Is there any?
It's only first steps in this, but of course it's a great challenge for every university, and it's a great challenge for the role of and model of university at whole, because it's not the modern society needs the modern generation needs not of course they need full course and full credit course at university, but we call it continuous education and lifelong learning. Then somebody needs one course, one specific skills, and so the university need to change some program. We have not adopted the special law about distance learning just now, so it's necessary to be on the campus, in campus, but of course we use IT technology to provide hybrid in-campus and off-campus e-learning, and we have very good MOOCs programs in Ukraine called Prometheus to provide specific courses for everyone. So it's free, and we are thinking about the special project at my university, Kilmahila Online. So that's why to provide more courses not only for students but for society. It's also pro bono project. It's not the creditable course, and it's not the university courses, but it's the good courses and the good skills and the good knowledge to open to everyone who need it.
Right.
So it's why we think not only for university model, but to be in help for society to how to university in this new ecosystem to be close to society level and efforts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for question. Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I have some small booklet about my university, and I'm like harsh about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have no many souvenirs, but okay.
This was a really interesting presentation. I really appreciate your taking the time. And this this recording will go on our YouTube channel, so
Okay.
Additional faculty members who weren't able to make it today and other doctoral students can enjoy it.